The Honourable Member for Suave.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I too want to contribute to this important debate on the budget. Mr. Acting Speaker, I take note of the comments made by my esteemed colleagues in supporting the budget and in providing guidance for how we can improve. I just basically want to start by saying, Mr. Speaker, that there's a real need for Treasury and the government to really look at what's happening at the micro level, as the Honourable Governor of East Sepik mentioned. There's a big disconnect into the impact that we're feeling at the rural districts, in the settlements, on the fringes of the peri-urban parts of the cities. And this is because of failed implementation of the budget. Mr. Speaker, when I asked about budget visibility, and now I commend the Treasurer for being prudent at the macroeconomic level with his fiscal management. But at the lower level of society, Mr. Speaker, people are really struggling. There's a big disconnect. So when we're talking about transparency and budget implementation, we want to know how much money did the Treasury release on warrants to agriculture, for example, to health, to law and order, to planning. We want to know how much was commerce and industry given for the SMEs. Then we can hold ministers to account, the government can be accountable, and our people, because this is the people's money, Mr. Speaker, and they deserve to know exactly how that money is being spent. Now the good Minister for Labour, with her economic predisposition, talked about how we're tracking with respect to performance in the budget. She failed to mention the negative correlation between GDP growth and unemployment. If you prepare to tell this Honourable House that GDP has been growing and increasing, then we should also see a proportionate reduction in unemployment. So where are the jobs, Mr. Acting Speaker? 2023, we put forth and passed an historic budget of 24 billion kina. So where are the jobs? And I'm not talking about just any job, I'm talking about decent jobs that Papua New Guineans can be proud of, that Papua New Guineans can be employed, gainfully employed in, to pay for school fees, to pay for medical bills, to pay for insurance, to save. When we're talking about GDP, we're talking about four components of GDP. We're talking about consumption, we're talking about government spending, we're talking about investments and net exports. This is a very, very important document because it talks about the government's money plan and our contribution to overall GDP. It's serious business. But the Treasurer has to start to move away from this habit of measuring the economy on GDP. We've got to get down to the granular level. We've got to talk about per capita income. We've got to talk about jobs. We've got to look at the national savings rate of Papua New Guinea to demonstrate how much savings is taking place in the country to reflect the economic health of the country. China's national savings rate is 45%. The last measurement of the national savings rate in Papua New Guinea was 1.65% in 2017. Papua New Guineans aren't saving. Businesses aren't saving. We're not creating a conducive environment. So how can we promote investments in the country, Mr. Speaker? This is not happening. If we're talking about how people are suffering in terms of, let's look at the tax, inflation. Consumer price index is over 5%. We've got GST at 10%. How can an average Papua New Guinean on minimum wage afford a 15% reduction, notwithstanding all the debts and borrowings that they've got to go to on the black market, where we all know that the rates they charge on borrowers are over 50 to 100%. It's just completely untenable. Why aren't we looking at increasing minimum wage by 300% and taking some real tough measures to promote the livelihoods of average Papua New Guineans, Mr. Speaker? Why aren't we doing that? The thing that I wanted to see the Treasurer do in this budget through fiscal intervention was to immediately apply austerity measures by reducing the amount of debt we borrowed and the amount of spending. This would have a direct reduction in inflation. There's no visibility with respect to what the central bank's doing. And this comes under the purview of the Treasury. Why aren't they reducing or increasing interest rates to reduce inflation? We haven't had any reports about their effective management of open market operations in terms of the trading of security bills, Mr. Speaker. So where's the disconnect? My real concern is in terms of the visibility. And now I've seen that the budget, we're lumping up in the sectors, and this is going to promote this culture of conformity, where they will expect members of parliament and governors to come to Port Moresby and beg for appropriation. Why can't we just give the money to the governors and send us all back to our provinces and respective districts? We haven't applied Okun's law. We haven't applied Pareto's principle in targeted investments. In targeted investments. I come from a coffee district. I come from a coffee province. And there hasn't been one meeting with the agriculture minister, the coffee minister, about coffee in our area. And that runs from Western Highlands all the way down to Eastern Highlands. These things matter to us. If the good treasurer and his team had spent more time consulting with governors and members and coming to the districts, we would have had a budget here that's reflective of the development aspirations of our people, because we're all different. This is a land of 1,000 tribes. We're all not the same. One cap doesn't fit all. One size doesn't fit all. This diversity has to be captured in the budget. And we've got to come and leverage off our strengths. Some provinces are resource provinces, like the good Governor from Morabel alluded to, so they can get 100, 200 million in IDG. What about Simbu? With our floundering 5 million internal revenue. Are we going to continue to be beggars in this house? In the 2024 budget? This inequity in distribution requires the treasurer to take a more critical approach to budget formulation. Because we can't be beggars in this house. Mr. Speaker, to end it, I would like to ask the good treasurer to seriously look at repealing Section 31 of the Public Finance Management Act, Amendment 2019. This act is oppressive. This section of the law is oppressive. It's unconstitutional, and it can't be in the business of usurping the powers of Parliament. Parliament remains supreme, Mr. Speaker. And that's the start where we will get confidence and see that the good treasurer is serious about being transparent and about doing the right thing with the people's money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.